Before this review starts, I want to let you guys know that I've started a new Facebook group, All Figures Go to Heaven. The point of this group is for people to share their pictures, their videos of their figures, any scale, licensed, KO, custom, 3D printed, doesn't matter. Not bashing any groups, but I feel like I just got personally tired of posts getting deleted because it was of an unlicensed figure or because you're self-promoting, when most of these groups are ran by big YouTubers, and that's fine, but I just wanted to make sure that there was a safe space for people to post when it comes to collecting. So links in the description. Hope you come join us. Alright, here we have the Sentinel Fighting Armor Punisher. This is my first official Sentinel figure. I have a KO of the Peter B. Parker from Into the Spider-Verse, but obviously a KO is never going to truly reflect the actual product, so very happy to have them. The Fighting Armor line is cool. I like the designs, but there's none of them that were really screaming, I need it. But as a Punisher fan, we don't really get as many figures as I would say most other characters, so when I saw this guy I knew I had to have it. I'll fact check myself later, but pretty sure there's only 800 of this guy worldwide. He was a limited release. I got lucky and caught a restock on Big Bad Toy Store about a month ago when it came out, so super excited to have him. Again, I've only seen like 2 reviews of this guy, so figured it'd be worth it to throw my hat in the mix and see what we got going on here. Right away, something really cool about this figure and the whole line of the Fighting Armor figures is that they're part die-cast, which it just feels really good in the hands when you're messing with them. The die-cast parts, the weight of this figure, the cool touch of the metal, I think it really works for the aesthetic that Sentinel's going for when it comes to this line. As you can see, he's got that classic Punisher skull logo printed right on the front. It's really clean, especially for being white. I have maybe a little bump in the paint and a slight black mark right there, but for the most part, I'm very impressed with how clean the paintwork is, especially on the head. And when it comes to a figure like this, when it's armor, I mean, it's the Punisher. He's gonna have wear and tear because he's always out doing his thing. So I feel like when it comes to certain types of characters, you can get away with cosmetic defects when it comes to paint and chips, stuff like that, because it just works into the figure. But yeah, insanely clean. I could see some people even thinking it's too clean for this character, but yeah, love it. So the head is plastic. From, I would say, this top chest piece is die cast. The thighs are die cast. The knees, probably this lower ab part as well, and then I think the crotch piece as well. So it's a pretty good mix. He's got, like I said, he's got a really good weight to him. And the articulation on this guy, when you hear diecast, sometimes it can freak you out. But it's just so good. He gets not quite 90, but damn near. He's got a butterfly system, and it gives a pretty decent range for what you're working with. Not too much, but not too little either. This guy just has so much going on because there's a hidden extension in the thigh. You pop it down like that, it just gives you so much more range of motion. Like, you can go just below 90. But again, you twist that thigh, you're going up even more. You get them in that pose you want, and then you can slide it back in as much as you want. It's just friction holding it. I thought that this ridge right here was rubber, but it's not. It seems, I think the black actually is die cast, and then the gray is plastic, and the gray is the joint going into the thigh. I was a little worried when I saw these like ball hinge and swivel joints for the waist, but actually it works beautifully. You can get them any weight you want. He goes back again, splays out a little bit, but really far. This mid piece here floats. A lot of characters, especially the Punisher, I feel like is one whose main logo is just so big that when you get him into certain poses, you know, the break, it doesn't bother me necessarily, but I know for some people it can be a huge thing. So obviously, I think that goes without saying, but just something to keep in mind that obviously you're going to be breaking up that logo. You can see the deco for the teeth of the skull is on this lower waist part as well. So it does its best to try to keep the logo going. The head, it has surprisingly a lot of articulation for being in between these two shoulder parts. It's very interesting how it connects. So you can see the back of the head. When I move it up, the main mask part is a separate piece on another piece, and you can kind of see up in there, there's obviously like some sort of peg keeping the two together. One of the first things I thought of when picking this guy up was, oh man, I'd love to try to get an unmasked Frank head to throw on there, but I don't think you can take that head off, which is a little unfortunate, but definitely not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. So he doesn't come with a whole lot of accessories, but I think to make up with that, he just has so many options when it comes to things you want to do with what he has. So he has these two automatic cannons, very nice metallic gray paint, silver accents on the back. It'd be kind of cool if there was red in the barrels, but you know, not a big deal. They just peg on the back like so. Very simple, very straightforward. And the thing with him is he also has these peg holes in the arms, so it's simple enough to just port them in like that, and then you can have them on the arms. Very cool. Very, very Punisher. And then he also comes with 2 sets of rockets as well, which is the same thing, just simple enough to just boop, just port right on the top. There you have it. He also has these claws, which they're already on the arms. You definitely want to be careful with these points. They're pretty sharp, not super friendly. Haven't hurt myself yet, but I can see it happening one day for sure. But they just rotate out as you want. Very cool. You can put all 4 of them on one arm, with these peg holes, they also just pop out. So also, if you don't want them on there, not an issue to take them out. But you can put all 4 on one arm if you want. Just a lot of different combos, and at the end I'll put some photos I've taken with different combinations of these weapons to show you. Just obviously you can imagine lots of options. And if there's one thing that I think any collector or figure photographer likes with their figures, it's options. I saw someone put a poll on YouTube the other day where it was, what would you rather have? Would you rather have very highly detailed sculpt, or would you rather have articulation and accessories? And for me, I think articulation and accessories are the most important, because even if a sculpt isn't the most highly detailed thing you've ever seen, it's the poses that brings the figure to life. And this guy, yeah, his articulation is incredible, especially for being a lot of die cast. The hands are just on hinge and swivel. You're not getting too much articulation, but you don't really need it. Mainly it's going to be for your your open blast hands. So he comes with 3 sets of hands: fists, your splayed out, I would say like repulsor hands, and then more of just like, dynamic open hands. When I first got mine, I was immediately pretty nervous because you can see right here on the peg that gap. I thought it was splitting apart, and it freaked me out for a second because it doesn't seem like a peg that you can easily replace. But both of them are like that, and you can see the peg on the other side, and it's fully in, not going anywhere. So, apparently it's supposed to look like that, which is fine. Not a big deal. And simple enough to just pop the new ones on. Again, you want to be careful when replacing the hands to not poke yourself with these. They'll bite you a little bit. It just looks so good. And yeah, you got that hinge up to really get that repulsor blast look. So we'll do a little bit of comparisons here for size. The thing is, this guy is small in terms of, say, like Marvel Legends. So unfortunately, it's not the biggest deal, but unfortunately, you're not going to be able to like have him directly next to Frank, and I'll show you here what that looks like. So here we have the Marvel Legends Punisher from the recent Bushwhacker 2-pack. And as you can see, yeah, there's no way this head is fitting into this armor. I have him crouched down a little bit, so he's taller than the fighting armor figure. Obviously, they're not made to scale together. Is what it is, not a big deal. I still think they look cool next to each other. You can have it in a way, and I took a picture that I'll put in the end where Frank's in the background and then the fighting armor's in the foreground. So it does what it needs to in terms of scaling. But yeah, if you have them directly next to each other on the shelf, it might look just a little off. Well, you're going off of any Hugh Jackman figure is going to be taller than Wolverine's actual height. So, I mean, it's like 50-50. It could work, but also you know, when you're thinking of a War Machine, Iron Man type armor, you expect them to be decently taller, especially when it comes to a character like Wolverine. That could work. Again, he's just small for what he is. You know, the figure itself is a fine size for, you know, posing around, taking photos, all that. But when it comes to putting him next to other figures, he's just not as big as you want him to be. You know, you can fudge it. It's not really that big of a deal. No, normally I can be a stickler for scaling, I think, but sometimes, you know, you just gotta let it slide for certain figures. And I mean, this one, there's only 800 of them, and he's a Punisher figure, which we don't get many of. So I'm super happy to have him. It doesn't bother me that he's not the best figure to put around others, because he's just kind of his own thing, and he's just one of those figures that he's so badass that you just don't really care. I think that's all I have to say. I know it's not the most in-depth review, but I feel like this is a figure that really speaks for itself. The look, the feel, the paint applications, the accessories. You know, it wasn't meant to be a huge release, tons of accessories, because it was a limited thing. All right, screw it. We're going to make 800 of these, whatever. I do have the Hasbro Marvel Legends Punisher War Machine, which, I don't know. Again, at the time, I had to have it. Still happy to have it. But the articulation on that figure just sucks. And we all know it. It's much more for throwing up on the shelf than it is for getting in poses. This guy is not Punisher War Machine. I'm pretty sure the storyline for this line is if Tony Stark made Iron Man armor for all the heroes. So it's not Punisher War Machine, it's Punisher with his own suit. So, you know, not the same thing, not trying to be the same thing, it's trying to be its own thing. And, you know, I can dig that. I appreciate figures that are their own designs, their own original take on a character, just as much as I like characters that are one-to-one, right off the page, right off the screen. So, yeah, super happy to have them. I haven't looked what this guy is going for on the secondary market, so if you see this video and you are like me and you're like, I have to have him, good luck. Hopefully he's not too expensive. Hopefully you can snag him. Like I said, we don't get many Punisher figures. I felt like I needed it. He's here. I love him. It's really all I got. Appreciate you so much for watching. If you want to see photos of this guy and other figures in my collection, go to my Instagram, put the link in the bio. I think the next figure that I'll get to, it hasn't released yet, but the Sin Judge Punisher, kind of the Mezco style. Really excited for that to come out. It's supposed to be Q2, Q3 this year. Of course, you know, that means anything these days. But as soon as I get them, you guys will be the first to see them. So thanks again for watching, and catch you next time.